So there's a weird thing going on the internet, which is funny to say because there's always weird stuff going on. But what is happening recently between Vaush and H3H3 is just particularly strange. And it has to do with just, parasocial relationships. Obviously, the degeneracy. We know about that stuff. But I'm gonna recap how this all went down. But just majorly why this is even happening in the first place is because of parasocial relationships and the cult of personality, which annoys me because I feel like we should be past this as a society. I feel like there's enough data, there's enough history that we should be able to catch ourselves admiring people and idolizing people who clearly don't deserve admiration. Where you have some people that may be influential and you can appreciate what they do, what type of content they make, whatever it is. But to become a fanboy or a fangirl, to ride or die anyone is kind of insane, because you should always be skeptical. You should always be able to be steadfast in a way that if somebody does something irreprehensible, you can condemn it. You can be like, hey, this isn't cool, man. Instead of just riding or dying for them and always excusing their trash behavior. So I'm talking about, Ethan Klein of H3H3. He does podcasts all throughout the week. He does one on Fridays. I think it's called After Dark with his wife, Ela. And they were talking about something that happened with a YouTube and Twitch streamer named Vaush. Now, if you don't know who Vaush is, I'm assuming most people know who he is if they're watching or listening to this. But Vaush is just a political streamer who is a progressive. I don't know if he 100% classifies himself as a socialist or something, but I would say he advocates a lot for socialist principles and just progressivism. And he is somebody who has become somewhat of a cult of personality with his fan base. There's a lot of his fan base that idolize him and they ride for him. And I don't think it's by accident. I think Vaush is very calculated in a way that he sees what's happening and he doesn't try to push back with it. I think he's also become extremely arrogant because of it, which a lot of people do. When you have so many people admiring and idolizing you, you kind of start feeding into your own BS. You almost start believing it yourself instead of having some humility, because, man, just even me as a small creator, for the stuff that I've done through art and podcasting and whatnot, and I would have people say all these really great things about me, I would always feel weird. Like if somebody was talking to me and staring me straight in my eyes and they were saying wonderful things about me, I would look away because I just don't feel that way. I'm just like, bro, like there's so much growth. I can do so much better and so on and so forth. But then you have some people that will look right back into your eyes and be like, yes, you are correct. And I appreciate your words. Like they believe into it. And it's like, it's weird. And that's how you get into a situation where Vaush has a very weird taste in the type of the content that he, whacks off to, where he was streaming and he accidentally shared his folder that had a bunch of degenerate photos in it. And this is where things got like insane, because it seems pretty open and shut to me when I'm looking into it. When you know what the pictures are, they're like, oh, there's this weird horse porn with girls that look extremely young. This is fucking gross. What is this? It's what some people would call lolly. And he came out with the defense saying, well, yeah, whatever, horse stuff, yeah, but I didn't know some of the girls or one of the girls or whatever was actually in that category. I thought even though they look extremely young, I didn't think they were. And somebody, even when I was tweeting about this, somebody gave me an explanation saying they thought it was Princess Midna Ash or something like that. I think this is from Twilight princess. It's from one of the Zelda games that I think was on N64 or GameCube or something. And I saw that this person has many different forms. And I'm assuming they're talking about the ones when they looked like tiny, petite girls. And not like, say, her true form where she looks like a grown woman. And to me, okay, all right. So H3H3 went over that folder leak. And he also went over some of the problematic things he's said on stream multiple times when he talks to making these arguments and making these comparisons and using as an example, always going back to CP. And it just looks weird. And the thing that, like, Vaush's fan base and what Vaush says himself, he always says, well, all of this stuff is in bad faith. It's always taken out of context. There's all these extreme far-right people that are clipping these things. You can find them on 4chan, and they're just trying to smear me. So the H3 podcast is like, all right, we understand that. We will watch the clips in context. We will let the clips run longer than the clips themselves. And then so you get the context, you understand why Vaush is saying what he's saying, and then H3 and crew and myself and a lot of other people that are just normal are like, there's no way to spin it. It's just weird. We understand that you're not riding for CP, but these weird examples you're using that saying like, hey, even though when it comes to an adult and a child having a sexual relationship, there may be an example of it not being negative. You know, even though that may be true, that you could find a handful of examples throughout all the billions of people in the world, we still abide by standards and these rules. And so we can't just make that like, oh, well, we can't just condemn those handful of people because, you know, like he's arguing in favor of the laws making sense and being against that, but he's using these weird, like, arguments where, say, even kind of leaving open a window for, say, some perverts maybe even writing for these arguments saying, yeah, I'm that one example or something, you know, like these people, or like Milo Yiannopoulos, if you guys remember who that is, he actually went on a podcast and said he had a relationship with his priest when he was a teenager, you know, like 14 or something, and it was very positive for him. He doesn't think anything negative about it, which in his mind, that may be true, but it's still from a normal standard and perspective where like, that's awful, right? So it's just like a weird, it's just a weird pivot in a conversation, and he's used this argument multiple times, and people are like, I don't want to argue about these hypotheticals. They're not, you can use so many other different examples. You don't have to continuously go to this thing. Why does your mind continuously go to this subject? And so people are saying, in context, out of context, it's weird. And then he has this thing drop, and then he has like some young looking girls on his folder. Not looking good, dude. And I prefaced this with in one of the tweets because somebody was saying, here's the explanation. He thought it was this or this or that, Princess Midnight Ash or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, but here's the thing when it comes to me, myself. I like grown-ass women. I like, you know, hips, big boobies. Don't have to be big boobies, but I'm saying they're nice to look at. Hips and a nice ass, long legs. Like, I like women. So never, not once, not even close, not even an accident. Like, it's impossible for me to accidentally save Lolly. It just can't happen because I don't like pictures of women that look like little girls. Like, it's just not a thing that I'm into even remotely. I go back to being a little kid. You know, when I'm playing video games, and then who are the girls that I'm like most attracted to? Chun-Li, Cammy. I mean, Street Fighter Alpha 3, or just the Alpha series in general comes out. There was Sakura, and I was like, meh, you know, get her out of here. She's you know, a little high school girl. Get out of here. I'm younger than Sakura technically, right? But I'm still not even paying attention to her because she's not freaking Rainbow Mika, just thick mommy wrestler where you're like, yo, give me that. I want that. You know, Mai from King of Fighters, you're like, give me that. You know what I'm saying? into like that stuff. I'm playing Bloody Roar and Jenny the Bat. I'm like, what's good? I'm playing Soul Calibur and I'm like, Ivy, what's good? You know what I mean? And so that's just, I feel like, pretty normal. You know, and like I say, I'm not even hating if you like people who are more not well endowed or whatever, like maybe like slimmer, petite model type women or something in that way. But then it gets to a different realm when they're like super tiny and they look so like, you know, prepubescent. And you're just like, how do you like this? And then they'll make arguments like, well, I mean, they're a 10,000-year-old witch or something. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care how old they are, man. It looks like a child. Why are you attracted to that? And then they try to dance around and make these excuses like, oh, well, it's not real, so it's not actual CP or whatever. Just trying to just do whatever they can to circumvent that you are into some weird stuff. And so what you have is all of these people that are in Vaush's, you know, cult, or they have a parasocial relationship with him. They are running defense, like they're going hard in the paint. And like even like the excuses, the defenses that Vaush has made himself, I'm like, I'm sorry, they're not plausible to me. I don't know how you accidentally save Lolly. How could you possibly do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not something that you can just do on accident, because there is such a vast difference between lolly content and what real women look like. My wife showed me, I don't know what anime it was, but she showed me a picture of all these girls that are in high school, but they had just like massive breasts and they looked all voluptuous. And I was laughing because it reminded me of how Hollywood does it, right? Like one of my favorite movies is Varsity Blues, which is based on high schoolers in the South somewhere. And like one of the scenes was an iconic scene where this chick comes in a whipped cream, you know, trying to bang the quarterback. And he's just like, nah, like I'm with some other chick or whatever. Well, he kisses her, but still. So the thing is, these people are portraying, they're playing high schoolers, but clearly they're not. They're all in their late 20s, early 30s and stuff. And that's why we can not be so uncomfortable, because we know these people are grown people. It's like Euphoria and Sydney Sweeney. Like, there's no creepiness behind it because we know these people are old as shit. Now, if you had them betrayed like they were tiny, if you actually brought in either real girls that are actually underage, or if you brought in adult women that actually looked very tiny and looked like minors, then it would get really fucking weird. Because then it's like, why are you turned on by this? You know, because I just feel like that's just kind of normal. You see like these people that are young and you don't have like an inclination to be like, I want that. It's usually more of like seeing like a puppy or something, right? Where you're like, so adorable, so cute. When you see like a little girl or something and like having like a moment with their parents or something, you're just like, that's so adorable. Yeah, like that isn't, I feel like I'm like, isn't that's normal? And I know people get mad when you say normal and this, because then that means it's abnormal. And I'm like, yeah, some things are, dude. Some things are abnormal. Some things are just weird. And something like, and I'm like, I don't need to nerf my language because some people are going to be upset about that. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I guess I just don't, I do understand. I do understand what is happening. Like I said in the beginning, it's parasocial relationships and the cult of personality. You can find a lot of these people will be extreme hypocrites, because if there was somebody they didn't like, let's say, for example, it was a Tim Pool. Tim Pool gets caught with this stuff on his hard drive. Well, they're going to go hard in the paint on him because they don't like Tim Pool. I'm talking about like Vaush's fans. Like, they don't like him. So they're not going to excuse Tim Pool, but they'll excuse Vaush. They'll excuse anybody in that realm that does something like that. I mean, I guess the greatest example, really just moving away from, you know, this degeneracy And it's like, even that annoys me. Saying degeneracy and degenerates, it's almost like been like, oh, it's been painted as like you're some type of chud or something. I'm like, that term existed before the internet culture wars or whatever. But I digress on that. I'd say Kanye, Ye, dropped an album recently, and I'm looking at what his fans are saying. I'm looking at the streaming numbers. I'm looking at the comment sections on YouTube and whatnot. And his fans are just riding hard. They don't even care about any of the anti-Semitic stuff he went, all the tirades and saying how much he loves Hitler and all that crazy stuff. They couldn't care less. And if that's not proof that you can pretty much get away with anything, and how cancel culture truly doesn't exist, because really you only get canceled if you cancel yourself. It's like, say, if Vaush went away and was like so embarrassed and it was like, I got to take some time and reflect, well, then he would be quote unquote canceled. But since he's like, I don't think I did anything wrong, and he's staying and he's like defending himself in Discords, and don't even get me started on Discord, man. I think Discord was the worst thing to ever be invented. As far as the internet goes, I think Discord is fucking awful. But I guess that's really all I have to say on this subject. I know there will probably be some people that still don't understand, and I feel like those are the people that, you know, they're just riding for the cult, or say they haven't watched H3's stream, and they don't understand that, say they looked at Vaush's arguments within context and explained vehemently that even within context, this is still weird. And then you'll still see people saying, "Oh, they just shared the things out of context." And I'm like, bro, you guys don't even care to listen. I thought y'all were supposed to be the side of logic and reasoning. What the hell is happening? And I guess it's just so disappointing that cults, I mean, of course, obviously they still exist. They've never gone away, but it's just, it seems so much harder. Like, how do you still get swept up in this, man? Like before, when there wasn't any information available, when there was no internet to just hurry up and fact check stuff yourself on trusted sources. Before it was kind of like, oh, let me look up an encyclopedia. I don't have an encyclopedia on me or anything, you know? And then you can just hear what some charismatic person say, and then you'll just take their word for it, and you have nothing else to counter it. Now it's like everybody's connected, and it should be easy to swat down this stuff, but actually, it did the opposite. It's just worse. People just want to be controlled, I guess. They want to follow people. I've said things like theorize that, like, what if the extraterrestrial people, you know, there's like a whole a narrative that say people were made by aliens. They were genetically modified to be extremely obedient. Like, they have the extreme brain capacity to be able to build amazing things and invent amazing things, but at the same time, they just ignore that part of their brain, and they're like, I like what this guy says. I'm going to ride or die for him. I may even hurt people for them. It's like, how is this happening? But that's it, man. That's all I got to say. If you truly think I missed any information, let me know. I don't think I did. I really don't. I really tried to pay attention to what was happening. I looked into his arguments. I looked into the images that he had on there, and they're weird. And it's just like I said, I don't know how you accidentally get lolly on your computer without, you know, being into. It's like, oh, I didn't know that it was actually a young person. I thought they were an old woman that just looks like a child. My bad. Like, what the hell kind of argument is that? Okay, I'm going in circles. I'm out of here. Take care, guys.